welcome to today's Academy webinar. I should say that long time no see, right? Because the last session we had exactly 1 month ago, and here is already October, the middle of autumn, and we are here to bring another bunch of valuable information for you. So my name is Alina Bonadonna, and I'm as always happy to welcome more and more new people and to moderate session today as well. And we have a distinct pleasure of hosting Catherine Odiamo, an award-winning food safety scientist and editorial leader and a founder of Tech Pellet Insights. So welcome, Catherine. How are you?
Thank you, Alina. I'm well.
Very happy to see you here, and thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Can you tell us just a few words where you are currently based, from where we are? We are pleased to hear you now.
I'm joining you all the way from Kenya. How many kilometers are those?
Oh, wow, that's great. So guys,
Yeah.
until some of you are just joining, can you just drop a few words like from where you are listening to us today? Because I know that our audience is super international. So me personally, I'm currently in Zurich, and just a few words. And of course, I'm super eager to see your reactions that you hear as well, see as well, and we can continue and actually start our session. So please welcome our reactions and a few words. So we are here online. Maybe I should start first because maybe people are shy to drop some words. Oh yeah, finally, it's coming. Yeah, and before we start, as always, a huge thanks to Nemis Technologies for supporting such young and strong and powerful educational project like Nemis Academy. And yeah, so without further words, I'm just disappearing for a while, but I will keep track on all of these questions. And Catherine, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Alina. I hope they dropped where they're joining us from because they saw we have a wide representation of countries from the Philippines all the way to the USA, UK. Africa is wide represented. So I'm glad you've joined us in this session today. We're going to talk about from lab to market, how you're getting your innovations from just being research work in the lab to actually things and innovations that the market can adopt. But before that, a bit about me. I usually call myself a girl of many talents. Yes, I have a background in food science and technology, but then I moved from the lab and came to this other side of publishing and events. I've done editorial work into now communication strategies, where I work with innovators like you to find the right words and the right ways to reach the people who need to hear them. Whether this is through a sentence, a stage like this one, or even a story, I make sure it lands. But before we even begin, I want you to rate your confidence. Yes, in 1 to 5. Yes. How comfortable are you in communicating your innovations to non-technical stakeholders? How confident are you? With 1, meaning you struggle, and then 5 means you're all confident and usually see great results. Maybe just drop that in the chat. I hope you have access to the chat. Are you able to type?
It should be, yes. So guys, if you cannot find the chat, it should be on the right upper corner, if I'm not mistaken. It depends on your screen. So it's like a small dialog window where you just drop, usually those who attend our webinars, you know, guys, that you can drop a question there. So don't be shy, encourage our speaker And yeah.
Yes, just after that symbol of a person, and then there is the chat. There is also a space for questions. Just drop your number there. How comfortable are you with communicating your innovations to stakeholders? Let's give us 2 minutes.
By the way, Catherine, right now one of the attendees wrote me that he's driving. So, guys, if you are driving, don't create any
Please don't get an accident just because of us.
So I can just tell you from this person is 3. I will not tell because of I will not tell the name because of confidence reason, but the one of 3.
Yeah, sure. We don't even want to know your name. We just want to rate how good are we or how much help we need in this sector. But even as you still type, why is strategic communication even important? Yeah, because sometimes technical brilliance alone isn't enough. As scientists, we have so much technical brilliance, but apparently research shows that about 70 to 90% of innovations, and when you talk about 70 to 90%, you can imagine how high that is, fail at the market adoption stage. But then why do they even fail? They don't fail because of lack of scientific rigor. They fail because of stakeholders who don't understand, trust, or even see their relevance. Do you hear that? And then a research by Nielsen Norman backs this up, stating that people understand and trust clear language more than technical language. So when we bridge this communication gap, that's when true impact happens. So a question to you, has your team ever launched an innovation that struggled with adoption? Despite its technical strength, did you struggle? Maybe you can type as a yes or no in the chat. I want this to be interactive so that it doesn't just become a monologue of me presenting, speaking, and then at the end of the conversation, you've forgotten everything we've said. So just type in the chat a yes or no if you've ever struggled with that. Okay? And as you type, let's note the gap that exists in communication. Because on one side, we have the lab people with our robust science, we have rigorous validation, we have even technical depth. But then on the other side, we also have the market. Here we have buyers, regulators, we have operational teams. And these people, they need clarity, they need trust, and they also need usability. So the gap usually lies either because our messaging is too technical, there is a lack of stakeholder relevance, or we focus on compliance, not impact. If you are going to social media and seeing some of these pages, you're going to see a lot of jargon. You're going to see multiplex immunoassay, all that stuff. But we have to know that technical excellence means little if stakeholders don't understand or trust it. And today we are going to explore how to bridge this gap. So just drop us an emoji if this resonates with your experience so far. At least I saw some people dropping some emojis. So drop some emojis, react if this resonates with you. If you've seen this gap, even in your work, yes, so that we know we are not just talking about something that doesn't exist. Yes, and that is where I'm going to introduce our three-step framework. That is clarify, connect, and catalyze, which you're going to explain in the next slides. You can move on, Alina. Yes, that's our three-step framework. The very first one is clarify, just like the name sounds. Before communicating any message, any innovation, the first step is usually to deeply understand your audience. Understand their pain points, understand their priorities, and you also have to understand the language they use daily. You'll also want to simplify without oversimplifying. Instead of saying all those scientific terms, find a soft spot. Yes, because clarity is what builds credibility. And scientists, we know we are brilliant. Yes? Were you talking, Alina?
No, I was not.
Okay, I thought I had
I
some
was just smiling, because it so much resonates with this between two layers, communication and science. That's why it's like a super actual topic.
I know, because most of the time as scientists, we want to show our brilliance, we want to show how much we know. And we show that through talking about all the jargons, you see? But then this certainly works against us because it's only when you're able to explain what you do in the simplest of terms that it shows that you truly understand it. Yes? So let's say you are talking to a regulator. You'll ask yourself, what does a regulator care about? You're talking to a retail buyer. What does a retail buyer care about? You might find that a regulator cares about compliance. They care about consumer safety. And then a retail buyer wants to protect their brand. Yes? They want to make sure there is sales. They want to make sure there is customer confidence. So you're going to have to communicate in a language that they understand, not what feels right to you. Yes? So for example, if I say something like, we use predictive microbiology models to determine spoilage timelines. And then I say another thing like, we help manufacturers know exactly when their products will spoil so they can reduce waste and protect customers. Which one do you think will land? Which one do you think will land? Is it the first statement or the second statement? Yes? Which one do you think will land? Okay. So the very second step, after now you've clarified, you've known whom you're talking to. You've mapped their pain points. Now you connect. And how do you connect? This is now where you're going to align your messaging with what truly matters to your stakeholders. Because most of the time you communicate based on what excites us scientifically, forgetting that stakeholders care about their own problems and goals. If you bring me your multiplex and all that, and me, I want to just ensure I sell, I ensure I protect my consumers, I'll feel you don't get me. So you're going to use the pain points you mapped under step 1 on clarity, and then now you're going to connect your innovation to their pain point. What can that look like? Let's say for scientists and innovators, you know your product works, but then you're wondering how to make others understand its value without oversimplifying the science. So I'll use a case study of Nemis and Light. Alina, I used your innovation. I hope I'll not be beaten for that. So we know that the Nemis N-Light salmonella risk test can deliver results in under 24 hours. But then communicating why this speed matters, especially in preventing costly recalls of foodborne outbreaks, this is what is going to transform that data into impact. Yes, it delivers results in under 24 hours, but then what? How does that help me? You have now to tell me this is going to help me save time, save costs, prevent costly recalls, and even protect my brand. But this now depends on who you are talking to. Yes? Because if you're talking to an operations person, they're more focused on maybe saving costs. Yes? A production person will want to maybe reduce downtime. A quality person will want to ensure they carry out this test faster and then the products comply. So for these various groups, you have to speak a language that hits them. For food manufacturers, they can be under pressure to ensure compliance or minimize downtime and even keep operations running smoothly. So you're going to say that the Nemis N-Light QA teams can run rapid on-site tests instead of waiting days for lab results. This reduces downtime and catch risks early. You see, you're communicating the operational advantage in simple, outcome-driven language, which helps leadership see its return on investment. And as we said, retailers and food service providers, they'll want to protect their brands and their customers. Yeah? So when you tell them that Nemis N-Light detects salmonella faster, that's powerful, yes. But when they hear, it helps keep your shelf safe and your reputation intact. That now becomes personal and actionable. There are people who care about the various certifications. This innovation is endorsed by this organization and all that. That's why even when you go to the NEMIS website, you're going to find that they've written that their NEMIS Enlight is guideline endorsed for broader surveillance. Because for those people who care about such, this is going to speak for them. Recommended by guidelines for small surface sampling. This is going to speak to them if they care about this. That's why it's important you know what your customer cares about, what that specific stakeholder cares about. If you're looking for funding or investors, they want to invest in scalable solutions that solve real problems. Tell them about the ROI, the return on investment, yes? You're going to tell them that this test kit is a data-driven solution. It's going to reduce cost, it's going to reduce food waste and outbreak risk, which makes it a high-impact, sustainable investment story, yes? It's going to shorten the time for detection from days to hours. It's going to help producers act faster, yes? You hear that? So here's a quick activity for you. Please, for those driving, I don't know how you're going to do this activity, but if you're in the chat, just get your pen and paper ready. And if you're an innovator, just think about your top innovation, or even your favorite. It doesn't have to be a top. You know, we have our favorite innovations, yes? Like I picked this specific innovation because it uses phage technology, yes? And that's an upcoming field of research. That's why I chose to use it. So write down your top innovation and then ask yourself, who exactly does it serve? After you've written who it serves, now what problem does it solve for them? Yes? Using their words, not yours. Okay? Because, as I said, our very first step is what? You clarify. Yes? And in clarifying, this is where you know who am I serving, who am I speaking to, and what is their pain point. After you clarify now, just tell us which problem does it solve for them, then now connect your innovation to their pain point. For example, now, if your audience is a retail buyer, you won't just say our test detects listeria faster. You're going to connect it to their goals, which I said earlier. What does a retailer care about? They care about brand protection and customer satisfaction. They also care about their sales. So you can say something like this: rapid detection protects your brand from recalls, reputational damage, and potential sales loss. All the other science can come later because this is what they care about. They haven't asked you how does it work. If they ask you how it works, now you can go and break it down over there in simplified language. Yes? Are you able to type that in the chat if you're getting me? Are you able to type that? Guys, I'm used to interactive sessions. I'm not just used to talking alone for 1 hour. I'm used to people talking to me in the chat boxes. Yes, just speaking for 1 hour feels lonely. It feels like I'm speaking alone.
No worries, Catherine. We will have after QA session, so.
It's okay. So, since you've refused, maybe you can do this, the next step. Let's now catalyze it. We've now connected, we've clarified. Now we want to catalyze our innovation. And catalyzing, this is where now we bring in storytelling, something most of us scientists ain't good in. Yes, you're going to craft messages that move people to action. And this actually made me remember, you've seen these various videos of what's happening in Gaza when they want people to donate. What do they usually do? They put videos there of kids crying, kids malnourished, and then they tell you how these people will lose their life, they won't get access to food if you don't help, and that. While those sob stories will not help in an innovation, but then it speaks to the importance of emotional connection. Yes? Tie your innovation to a story. Don't just give us the science. Give us a story behind it. Yes? Because technical facts alone, they rarely inspire decisions. But now when you combine this with emotional storytelling, it brings about credibility. Yes? And in your storytelling, you're still just going to use these 3 steps. You're going to simplify your message to avoid confusion, and then you're going to ensure that your story is relevant to your specific stakeholder. You're going to connect this story to the emotions of this person, because every technical solution actually impacts people's lives, their livelihoods, and safety. So don't shy away from highlighting that human impact. Let's say if you're telling a story, you're pitching to an investor, yes, or maybe some innovation partners, and you wanted to tell them a story. I crafted a short story. I'm just going to read this as it is, okay? So imagine a food manufacturer in the UK who loses an entire batch of poultry exports because salmonella test results came back too late. Each delay meant more waste, more cost, and more uncertainty. The NEMIS introduced the Enlight Salmonella Risk Test, reducing detection time from days to hours. Suddenly, what used to be a reactive process became proactive. The manufacturer could release safe batches faster, cut losses, and even access new markets. Now, when you tell that story to an investor, you're not just pitching, yes? You're not pitching a test kit anymore. You're actually painting a picture of an efficiency revolution. This is a technology that saves resources because you've highlighted that in your story. It strengthens food systems, and it also creates scalable economic impact. And that is what the investor is going to remember. Yes? They're not going to remember all the science that you said. Yes? They're not going to remember that this technology uses phage technology. Yes? They're going to remember the impact of this technology, not the data points, but the transformation. Let's come to producers or manufacturers. You want to tell them something like this. Picture this. A quality assurance manager on a Friday evening. You know, Fridays, you're preparing to close work. That's if you don't work on weekends. Waiting anxiously for lab results before dispatching perishable goods. Every hour that passes increases spoilage risk and shrinks profit margins. With the Enlight Salmonella risk test, she now gets results within hours, not days. The factory keeps moving, customers get products on time, and she ends her day knowing her decision was driven by real-time data, not guesswork. When you tell that story, you're not selling a test. You're showing relief for the QA's time who wants to go home early on a Friday evening. Yes, you're showing confidence. You're giving them control, and that is going to that is what is going to catalyze adoption. Yes, because stories like this, they actually connect your solution to emotions behind all the operational decisions. I know there are a whole lot of examples that you can use, but at the end of the day, what's important is that you understand, not just cram all this, because when you understand now, you can translate it into a context that worked for you. You can even now, if you are maybe working with a regulator, you can pick an incident of an outbreak, yes, that they maybe didn't even handle well. Tell them about that outbreak. Tell them how your innovation could have made things better. That is going to actually speak to them. Wow, this is actually what we need, because we don't want to go through this when the next incident happens. Yes? And then this is also the perfect stage to use real case studies. Those short story-driven examples of how your solution created measurable impact. Collect them from your customers. Yes? Use real stories. And that is where you're going to say something like, one of our clients, a mid-sized dairy producer in, let's say, Kenya, used the Enlight test to cut product release time by 48 hours. That meant fresher deliveries, reduced spoilage, and a stronger relationship with their export partners. Instead of just saying, our clients improve testing efficiency, you're going to talk about their previous struggles. That's why sometimes when you read these documentaries or maybe long articles. It gives you a backstory of how were they doing their test previously, yes? And then after your solution came in, what changed? Because when you do this, you're providing proof. You're going to show that your innovation works in real conditions. You're also creating relatability, yes? You're helping your audience see themselves in your story. And you're also inspiring trust. You're not just speaking about features, but you're bringing in results. So that's what happens when you blend data with a narrative, yes? These just stop being reports, and then now they become conversion tools. So what I want you to do next is to just think about one message that you're currently communicating. How could you reframe it to be more stakeholder-centered? Think about that message, and then you can share that phrase or idea in the chat. Now, I designed this presentation to be so interactive, but it seems most people are just used to speaking, and then we call it a webinar. Yes?
Yes.
Is there you're laughing?
You just broke our usual format. That's why our people are just confused that they have to type something.
Yes, I want them to be confused, to know that they didn't just come to listen. That's why we said this was not just a webinar, this was like a masterclass, a practical, because I want people to leave here with clarity, not confusion. You know, sometimes when you just listen and then you don't apply it, at the end of the day, you've learned nothing, yes? You must listen, you must see, and you must write. You use the 3 visual cues, yes? Shall 3? Yes. Anyway, next time they'll know that I love interactive sessions. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. Have we reached there really?
Yeah. So
no, we have not reached there. There are some slides you've skipped.
It was actually the
There's
last
a slide that was about this framework in action.
Let me come back again.
Yes.
So is it correct one?
Not really. Just move further up. Further. Further. Yes, that is it. No?
Mm-hmm.
The one on the framework in action.
This one. Yeah, this one is framework in action. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you talk about this framework in action, let's take a case of a company that launched a rapid pathogen test. First, they clarified that retail buyers fear costly recalls. Then now they connected their solution by showing how faster detection protects brands from reputational damage. Then now they communicated a clear trust-building message. That is, prevent contamination crisis before they reach your shelves. How were they able to do this? Because they understood who they were targeting, yes? What was their pain point? And they crafted a narrative around that. But then you might think, this is all for external stakeholders. How do we bring this now internally? How do we embed strategic communication into our daily work, not just into presentations? Yes? So the very first step is to start our meetings with impact framing. Instead of just opening with technical data, we could begin with something like, here's what this means for our operations, for our customers, or for our regulators. Yes. Instead of just opening with, we ran 50 samples with a 98% detection accuracy. We could start with, today's results confirm we can confidently release products faster, protecting both consumer safety and operational efficiency. After that, now you can go into your data. Yes, you've already hooked them. Then now build stakeholder focused summaries. Translate these technical findings. If you ever read a scientific report, oh my God, it can make your mind want to burst. It reminds me the very first time I wrote a scientific article. It was on HPLC technology, the recent innovations in HPLC technology. Oh my God, if I show you that article, you'll laugh at me because I even made a prayer for God to help me understand. Okay. So you have to now build these summaries. You translate your technical findings into one-page briefs for these decision makers. Yes, you focus on relevance and the impact, just like we've said. You're going to want to also summarize your key findings, the implications for operations, cost, safety, or compliance, and recommend the next steps in clear business language. The third thing you can do is to align your lab results with the market language. Yes, phrase your outcomes in terms of what the market cares about, rather than purely the metrics. Yes. It's normal to find things like reduced colony forming units by 3 log in lab reports, but that's not a language that is suitable for the market. For the market, you want to translate this into something like eliminate 99.9% of pathogens, ensuring product safety and regulatory compliance. Yes, because it's these powerful changes that ensure that your technical work translates into decisions, actions, and trust across all stakeholders. So, before we wrap up, what did we learn today? Is that something someone would want to share with us in the chat, or I should just continue and summarize what we learned today? Since I've been told this audience is not used to interactive sessions. Yes, so today, let me be like a teacher and say, yes, class, today we learned about communication. And you notice that communication is not just a soft skill, yes? It's actually a market adoption strategy. And this is something I've been thinking about, and I was like, I think it's high time we introduce this even as a course, as a unit, as a module, in one of our lessons in curriculums, yes? Even in our organizations, we should have such trainings, yes? So that the marketing team gets to understand the R&D team, the QA gets to understand operations language, because this is what avoids the many conflicts at times, yes? When the operations person wants this, the quality person wants this, the production person wants this, because the quality will want the product meet all compliance requirements. The production will want that they meet the daily volume requirements, yes? So sometimes when we communicate about this, it helps in working synergistically. We've also learned that we should simplify our language, we should align it with stakeholder requirements, and then we should activate using storytelling. Yes, that is the slide, Alina.
Good.
Yes. So as I asked, what is your biggest insight from today's session? What is your biggest insight from today's session? And if you have any questions, this is the time.
I think actually we have one question.
Yes.
Actually, we have quite a bit, I should say. So let's start with the one. How would you help someone grow in storytelling? Because you mentioned it a lot.
Pardon?
How would you help someone to grow in storytelling itself?
How would I help someone? They should come to me. I will teach them how to storytell. You see the steps you are taking throughout this session, yes, From the very first point I mentioned about clarity, I wanted people to take down their notes, write this. That's the very thing you do when you want to grow. You don't just listen, yes? You have to take actionable steps, step by step. If I say this, you've learned this today. Now go and start practicing. Draft, share it with someone who is good in storytelling. Tell them, how do you find this? And then now refresh it again and again and again until now you feel, if I was this stakeholder, or if I wasn't the person telling this story, would this move me? It reminds me of a time I was sending some emails and then I decided to test it on myself, but I think I forgot about it. So you see, when the email comes in, I usually see the subject preview. So I saw the subject preview and I was like, okay, what is this? And then I knew I had gotten it right because it had hooked me. Yes?
Great. Actually, Katerina, I see people are sharing their insights. I do apologize to all our attendees that this format is not really for interacting with the speaker. That's why we usually ask questions at the end. So probably some of you were confusing that there is like a question mark chat where you can drop your question. So that was the only way for you guys to write. So do you want to tell you some few insights, Catherine, from our attendees?
Yes, I read them.
So one is from Oscar Moreno. We learn the importance of communicating according to the person we are addressing and not as a simple general message.
Wow, Oscar, you deserve a lollipop.
Yeah, next one from Robin Tobo. I learned that always using a scientific language is not always productive. That's actually true.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From Vangari Kamau, my key takeaway is to simplify information. There is no point in having information in the intended audience is not able to receive and understand it. Yeah.
Thank you, Wangari. Wangari is my friend. Shout out to her.
From Sabina Alexander, my biggest insight is that we need to find someone to practice my storytelling.
Please come.
Yeah, and my question to you, Catherine. So
Yes.
you mentioned that from 70 to 90% of innovators fail the adoption stage due to communication gaps. But I think that it's not only from one side. How would you see, like maybe what kind of mistakes you see that technical teams actually make when trying to simplify their message?
Sometimes technical teams, wow, they lead with the specs. Even when they try to simplify them, they lead with the specs. I wish I could show you some screenshots, but those people will kill me. So when I find messages that actually ain't communicating like they should, I usually just take screenshots and say, I'll use this somewhere one day when teaching people on communication. Yes, you'll find they're trying to simplify, yes, but you're still going to find a lot of specs, yes, and a lot of complex language. Yeah? They're still going to say how this works. They're not going to talk about how this is going to help this particular person, yes? They're still going to talk about speed, 24 hours and all that, but they're not going to tell me how this speed is going to help me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And another question is coming from Robin. What do you recommend to break the language barrier, as it is usually a big challenge, especially when it comes to dealing with different nationalities, for example, knowing that translators are not usually accurate?
That is something we were talking about with Alina before the session, actually. And I say that nowadays, if you go to these international conferences, you'll find there are translators. I believe there are people who are competent in their role. So the only way to break a language barrier is to get someone who is competent enough to do the job. Because we are so many in this world, and you can't tell me that every one of these people are not competent. There is that one person that is competent. The only problem is you'll have to pay more. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. And you were talking a lot during presentation about Nemis as example, which is great. Thank you so much. But I'm also wondering what other maybe examples in your experience, like of a food safety innovation, for example, that succeeded because of strategic communication and not just only science behind. If you can share some of such examples.
Okay, I haven't quite placed my finger on a specific innovation that does that, but when I do, I could share that I saw this company is doing this and I love it. But apparently, the company I mentioned, I've seen them trying now to improve their storytelling. Since I'm not on the inside, they cannot tell whether that has improved adoption.
Yeah. That's fine. And for example, which of these three steps you mentioned, like clarify, connect, and the last one, catalyze, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Oh,
So which one is the
before
hardest?
that,
Yeah.
sorry, before that, I've remembered something about the impact of that storytelling. There is this segment I have on my LinkedIn that spotlights innovations. Once in a while, I spotlight the various innovations. So there is this one time I spotlighted an innovation. It was in the aquaculture industry. It was an African innovation, yes?
Mm-hmm.
And just through that, because I did several slides, I simplified it and then did it in form of a story. The CEO came to my inbox and said, "Thank you so much. I never imagined there would come a day where I would see our innovation told in such a manner. It has brought so much traction."
Nice.
Yes. So
Great.
that is a good example I would use on the impact of storytelling.
That's great. Yeah. Or when your
And
customers.
then now on your, yes, on your question on which one is the hardest,
Yeah, which
I
one
would
is the
say
hardest to implement? Yeah.
the hardest, I would say, is not even, yes, you can say it's crafting the story, but no. The hardest is actually the very first step. Because if you fail in the first step, you're going to get all these other steps wrong. When you fail to clarify, yes, you don't know who you're talking to, and you don't know their pain points. There's no way you're going to connect your innovation with their pain points, and there's no way you're going to tell this story. Yes?
Yeah. And how might this be different when communicating to global or local stakeholders?
Depending on your country, you must know what people care about. In my country, for example, if I was to talk about regulations, that maybe this innovation, let me use, this innovation is satisfied by the regulatory body in Kenya, let me not mention it. People will be skeptical because do you mean to tell me because it's certified, that means it's safe? But if I were to mention that in the EU, for example, it would have a different impact. Yes? So know what your region cares about. If they care about human impact, if they care about food safety, if they care about food security, then mention that. If they care about these various validations and certifications, mention that. Yes? And universally, we all care about transparency. So that is a
Yeah.
language you can speak on a global platform, how transparent it is. There are people who care about fair trade. You can speak about that. Yes, the farmers are compensated, they were compensated well and all that. Yes.
Yeah. And if we are talking about like tools, what's the best tool to deliver message? Like, would it be, for example, visuals, infographics, or data storytelling to clarify technical ideas better?
Visual storytelling. Yes, I actually believe in visual storytelling, but don't let your visuals only to speak. Let's say I had given you these slides just like that. Would they have said what I have said? Not really. At times we need a combination of these. You need the visuals, but let the visuals not also take away the attention from the message being delivered. Yes. So the visuals, let them be great, yes, but now also deliver the message well.
Yeah. And how would you consider the role of AI currently in this?
AI actually helps a lot. Yes. AI can help you map out your stakeholders. It can help you simplify your language. Yes. And it can even help you now tell your story. But this depends on your skills because there's a limit to AI. There's a limit to what AI can do. Yes, because even in my preparation for this session, there are elements where I used AI, but there are elements where now I had to bring in the Kate touch, the Catherine touch. I had to think about, okay, this is a NEMIS webinar. Let me use NEMIS visuals. What will make real impact? Using scenarios that don't exist, or going to NEMIS website and choosing a technology that actually exists and using it as a case study. Yes, those are things that I wouldn't have told me. Those are things the creativity in me had to now figure out. And how to deliver it now, I had to find a way of delivering it, yes, without reading exactly what it was in the slides. The questions you're asking me now, that is something I want to, because I want to go to AI and now start typing. Okay, tell me. So AI helps, yes, it simplifies processes, makes it faster, but then you also have to bring in your human magic. That's where it really speeds things up.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as I think just people went with a brainstorm on their heads now to think about what to ask them after. That's why we don't have really questions now. But what I want to ask you, I would ask you to maybe somehow summarize and give one piece of advice to early career researchers or in general people in the industry to bring what's the best way to bring their ideas to market and what it would be.
Actually, the very last slide, I put a quote over there. Yes, it's a quote by George Bernard Shaw, which states that the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Yes. When I've submitted my research, done all that, you see, people publish a lot of research papers. Yes. But then, how many people get to read these research papers? Very few people. Very few people get to read this. Yes, there's some work I'm currently doing for some association in spotlighting work of Kenyan researchers. Yes, I called it Brains and Breakthroughs. So here I go and now simplify the research work into digestible language. Yes, that people can understand. So these researchers, what I would urge them is to tell their stories, because at the end of the day, no one can tell your story better than you. Apart from just doing the science, let people know this is what I'm doing. You don't even have to wait until you reach a breakthrough. Step by step, take us through your journey. Actually, taking people behind the scenes usually creates some emotional connections. When one day you finish this, they'd be like, wow, we were part of this journey. Yes? So tell us the challenges you faced, how you solved them, the breakthrough, who has it impacted so far? Yes? Where do you want to see it in the next 10 years or 5 years? That is what I would say to them. Don't just assume because you've published it that people know about it. No. Go to these expos. You'll find several innovations and you'll be like, wow, I didn't know this existed. Why? Because people carry the innovations to expos, and then at the end of the expo, they wrap up their booths and go back to the company. Yes? You never bring these innovations to light. You never tell people this is what we have. Tell people these such companies have used our innovation, this is what it has done to them. Make videos, yes, behind the scenes, do case studies and all that. Just let's stop making science boring. and too serious. Because you see, like in this webinar, I'm trying to laugh, I'm trying to do, but then as scientists, are just used to being still, so they're wondering, where did this one come from? I came from Kenya, and this is how I do my webinars.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for your energy today, Catherine. It was something completely new and out of comfort zone for all of us, also for me, because the webinar format is usually the one we usually do is not meant to be so much interactive, but maybe it's the right time to change it. So, guys, please react on this amazing speaker, on this great speech, and yeah, just super happy to have you here. And you see from the reaction that it's not just my thought. So, and yeah, as always, we publish recording next day at our LinkedIn and on our website, and additionally, it will be mailed to all of our participants. And if you want to get slides from this presentation, I hope Catherine doesn't mind. You just drop me a message and I will share slides. And see you guys already next month, 12th of November. Mark your calendar and we will talk about recalls. And I wishing you all great morning, great evening, depending on your time zone, and see you at our next academy. Bye bye.
Bye, Alina. It was nice having you.
Likewise.